right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. I'm here once again with my buddy through the miracle of computer phone here with John Burr.
It's all a big canard.
Oh, well played. Chuck is, as far as I can tell, Chuck went to Miami to help Dwayne Dedmon pack.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
I think so. I think Chuck, he had to make sure
he did
no
that.
one has turned on a player from best backup center to.
He said best backup center last year, right?
Yes. And you know, I am very guilty of watching a player for a few games and making grandiose statements about them.
Of course, we all are.
And that's kind of part and parcel of what we do here. Sometimes it's a little more pronounced than other times. But man, Dwayne Dedmon's bad, like super bad. But it made me wonder, is that just the nature of home team fandom where you just watch a guy where you kind of talk yourself into a guy?
I feel like Dwayne Dedmon had this run where he was on the Spurs and the Hawks, and he would come in when whoever was injured, whoever was ahead of him in the lineup, he'd come in and he'd bang a couple threes and he'd block a few shots, and you're like, this is prototypical stretch, so like, big rim protector. This is like a cheap Jaren Jackson.
It's like what we used to do with, well, maybe not you, but what I definitely used to do with Gorgie Jang.
Oh, exactly the same.
I'd be like, man, you know, we should play Gorgie all the time.
Like, what if we just got rid of Jonas Valanciunas and freed Gorgie? Oh, yes. Chuck has pinned a lot of the Heat failures this season on Dwayne Dedmon, and then the him brandishing that foot massager as a weapon was the final straw. Chuck had to get him out of town, and so now he's the meme of going to my greatest enemy's funeral to make sure he's dead. That's Chuck outside the FTX No More Arena, making sure Dwayne Dedmon moves on. Do you think Chuck was involved? Should Chuck have been involved with waking Pat Riley from his nap?
You know what? At first, I knew this joke was coming, and at first I was ready to yes and. But I think no. I think maybe Pat Riley did the right thing by sleeping through this. Do you really want to shuffle around your Kyle Lowrys?
I mean,
why don't you just keep the? It's like that. Did you ever read that magnificent thread about Del Curry's divorce?
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
you don't want to be out there.
Don't get divorced. Keep Kyle Lowry. Everybody's friends with Kyle Lowry.
Go back to the wife of your youth.
Yeah, they out here pegging, man. You don't want. You can't do
drinking
this.
rose water.
Yeah. You know, Tulum? Question mark.
I wonder about this. There's this rumor apparently that Pat Riley was unreachable. He was resting perhaps while
I love the resting.
Like, while the Clippers were, I mean, is resting a euphemism for any number of activities? But apparently the Clippers maybe we're going to swap something like Robert Covington and Marcus Morris for Kyle Lowry, which would make a lot of what the Clippers did make a little bit. I mean, I guess what the Clippers did on its own made sense. It would make more sense if they actually brought in a point guard after trade deadline day. But apparently Pat Riley was unavailable. I mean, Kyle Lowry's been terrible.
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 You know, he's going to do some annoying playoff performances.
He's going to draw some charges in a game 3 or 4.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to be like, oh, yeah, this is better than angry Morris twin face.
This is better than Reggie Jackson or John Wall.
And, you know, and frankly, you know, like Robert Covington, no.
Hadn't been great, but I'm still surprised he didn't get moved. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll be bouncing around, but I mean, would you rather have Luke Kennard or Robert Covington on the Grizzlies?
Dude, that's not fair.
Is it not fair?
Yeah, I guess Robert Covington. I don't know. Like, I know Luke Kennard is really awesome at shooting threes, and I used to love talking about Point Kennard back in the day.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know if he just got old or hurt, but if you watch him now, he seems so bad and slow.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 friends who are Clippers season ticket holders, and they're like, Luke Kennard is unplayable and scared.
This is great. You said the word scared.
Right.
We have not communicated about this. I had a Clippers writer who I asked him for the lowdown on Luke Kennard. He might have used the phrase pee running down his leg.
Great.
He said Tyrone Lue had a shoot or sit policy with Luke Kennard. If he passed up a shot, you get benched because Luke Kennard would not shoot.
And he was, for all intents and purposes, benched.
So, I mean, he's been in the lineup. The one thing, and we will do our breakfast and we'll talk about the rest of the league after this, but as Grizzlies fans, it's
the one thing that he played at Duke. Is that where we're headed?
No, it's the one difference between Covington and Luke Kennard is Luke Kennard is signed through next year. Robert Covington is an expiring salary. And there are reports. Zach Lowe is saying irresponsible things. Zach Lowe is saying the Grizzlies offered it all for Kevin Durant. They offered 4 first-round picks and all the swaps. He's also saying that Memphis offered 3 first-round picks for Anunoby. He has said that some team offered 4 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, and the Nets rebuffed that offer. We don't know which team that is. But, John, hypothetical. Let's say some of these things are true. Let's say the Grizzlies offered 3 first-round picks.
I hadn't heard any of this. I wish I didn't know.
All right, let's work with it. It might not be true. It might be the Grizzlies just doing a PR play. But
right.
Let's grant this could be true. If the Grizzlies offered 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby and we're told no, and then they offered 4 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges and we're told no, and then offered 4 first-round picks and multiple pick swaps for Kevin Durant and we're told no.
Yeah, you just quit.
You just kind of quit. And because of that, I like the Kennard outside of the basketball element because makes over $14 million next season. And it sounds like the Grizzlies front office, if these things are true, are prepared to push everything to the center of the table. Thus, you need that matching salary of Luke Kennard for the offseason or for next season. So that's where I'm more encouraged now than I was immediately after the trade deadline.
I guess I would agree with you, except I think I would just rather have Danny Green on the team than Luke Kennard.
For this season.
Yeah.
I said that before the trade deadline that it was like a shrug my shoulders. I'd probably stick with Danny Green over Luke Kennard for this season. But now that I have this report, which again may not be true, but I have this thing said that the Grizzlies offered multiple picks to get to their guy. So if the Grizzlies are going to make an all-in move in the next 12 months, you're going to need the salary of Luke Kennard, thus more than you would Danny Green expiring salary. So you couldn't trade him in the offseason. Same with Robert Covington. So that's where I'm at.
Can I pause this useless conversation to have a more useless conversation?
Always.
What did we offer for Kevin Durant?
I mean, I haven't heard this with my own ears, so this might be totally false. But I think Zach Lowe said on a podcast that the Grizzlies offered 4 first-rounders, whichever pick they could offer, and pick swaps. Matching salary, you'd assume that would be Dylan Brooks plus Tyus Jones plus Danny Green.
That's it.
That's all we can offer. I assume
Jaren or Bane.
There's no way Jaren or Bane's on the table. You don't make an all-in deal if you're also including Jaren and Bane because you're not good enough. You might have a Suns conundrum where I don't think you're going to be good enough. Do you think the Suns are good enough?
I may be haunted till my dying day about this information.
Well, also Kevin Durant was in a situation where he picks where he wants to go, and I think that's put up or shut up. Kevin Durant's like, I don't actually want to play with John Morant as much as I praise the Grizzlies organization. I don't want to live in Memphis. I want to go to Phoenix, wherever he.
People love Phoenix.
Yeah,
NBA players love Phoenix. It's like one of the most NBA player, like their population of NBA players is high.
Yeah,
relative to other
and ex players, still like hanging out.
Yeah, I guess that's really what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but yeah,
let's do your breakfast. What is it?
Yeah.
What was your wow for? Just thinking about Kevin Durant turning down the Grizzlies?
Kevin Durant playing next to Ja and Jaren.
I had the same titillating sensation of the 4 hours I was allowed yesterday morning to dream about Mikal Bridges playing alongside Desmond Bane, John Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr.
I really
basketball
like all
perfection.
Of those trades. Yeah,
that's nirvana. I mean,
I'm much higher on Bridges than Anunoby.
Oh,
so I'm
Bridges
fine with
can shoot and dribble.
Right. I've like OG Anunoby is one of those players that like I have heard so much about, and then when I'm watching him, I'm like,
Mikal Bridges just drills 40% of his threes nonstop.
Yeah, I think Mikal Bridges is probably going to eat in Brooklyn. Like, probably be. I'm not going to like be like peak podcaster and be like, look how good Brooklyn is now,
dude. That's my corner, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
there's a lot of like fun players there. You know?
The Brooklyn thing, how they are right now is a big question for me. And so for this episode, let's talk about our breakfast. And after that, I'm going to give you some of my biggest questions post trade deadline that I have. And let's hear some of your biggest questions, John, that you have post trade deadline. And again, we haven't compared notes, so maybe they will overlap. Maybe they will not. But anyways, breakfast. Have you had a breakfast?
I have had a handful of frosted mini wheats and a 44-ounce cup full of Diet Dr. Pepper. So I am, as they say, teeming. I'm vibrant.
You're basically lifting what my breakfast has been. I eat a handful of whatever cereal I pour my children. Today was a handful of Fruit Loops to go with my black coffee.
Like I don't know if it's just been all the travel, but I've just gotten like super ill super suddenly.
Well, you've been Vegas to Nashville, back and forth, right?
I have been to Vegas 4 times in the past 10 days, like going back and forth. So,
anything enjoyable sports wise in Vegas that you got to experience?
None at all. I had a pretty sports free experience. I convinced a couple of my friends to meet me there because I got so tired of like the Nicolas Cage like experience of being alone in Vegas that and the tickets were $40 to fly out there.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I got some friends to meet me, and we tried to go watch the Grizzlies at a sports book, and they wouldn't put it on.
Where you at?
Like, oh, okay. Maybe they do hate the Grizzlies.
Yeah. Maybe they have resentment it's true. Grizzlies are the most hated team. I've done Vegas a lot alone, and you know, like I'll meet up with people that I have met on the internet, but like the first several years, I barely knew anyone. I was just there literally, doing my Nick Cage thing, walking up and down, people watching, slinking in and out of joints, seeing what's going on.
Vegas depresses me. I have
it's very
viewpoint similar to your wife's, where I'm like, this is wrong.
I share that feeling, but somehow wallow in it. I cover myself in it. Like, this is, especially when you're there alone, you're like, this is so weird. It's like I'm on a different planet. Where are all these people? Why are they here? Why are they spending so much money? And I'm just like, this is crazy. And
I had a meal in Vegas that was twice as expensive as any other meal I've ever bought, even for a party of people. Yeah. It was just for me.
Yeah.
And as I finished it, I felt only despair.
I want to say I ate with a couple of power listeners before in Vegas, and it was like a 10-person thing. And
Damon Rangula.
And we split the bill 10 ways. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like I could buy a PS5. What are we?
Yeah.
So big questions. I have a big question about the Nets, and the big question about the Nets. Yes, I am very optimistic about how they play on the court this season. I tweeted last summer, if they turn Kevin Durant into Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, I'm all in. And they did it. So I feel like I'm contractually obligated. I'm legally bound to stick with the Nets are going to rule. They're going to rule hard. But my biggest question is, post trade deadline for the Nets, why do they still have Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal and Yuta Watanabe and Joe Harris all on the roster? Okay, I understand no one was taking Joe Harris's salary, but it seems like they could have picked up a few assets for just one of those guys and not have this unbelievable logjam of players, especially assuming they're still going to play Ben Simmons.
Right. Ben Simmons was my biggest question. I was like, I guess you just don't want to trade when the value's so low. But the Nets are like very interesting team for me to watch going forward, because like they don't have any of their own draft picks, but they have like other people's draft picks.
Why wouldn't they want to get more of other people's draft picks?
So they could, that's what I'm going to say. So they could like actually end up trading those guys for more other people's draft picks, and then just kind of build their seasons around where other people's draft picks are landing. And they can actually have the video game experience.
Yeah, this
doesn't happen really.
I was very intrigued by just their game against the Bulls on Thursday night, where Ben Simmons came off the bench.
Yeah.
They didn't start Ben Simmons, which seems like the way to go. But like, They didn't even have Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, who were just, it was adorable watching them both together. Like they got traded together.
Is it time to talk Cam Johnson?
What do you want to talk about? I mean, I guess no one was interested in entering into an agreement where he'd have to deal with his restricted free agency in the coming season. I mean, I don't know.
I was just going to go non-trade talk and talk about his 3 straight 40-point games. Excuse me, Cam Thomas. Sorry.
All right, Cam Thomas. So Cam Thomas had those 3 straight 40-point games, and then
is this influx of wings going to ruin my Cam Thomas fantasy?
I don't know. Is he going to keep starting? Probably. I don't know. Like they're gonna, once they're fully, everyone clears the trade windows and passes their physicals. Will Cam Thomas still be the starting 2 alongside Dinwiddie? I don't know. They have a lot of options, but I think the Nets are going to be like solid. They're going to win. They're going to win 3/4 of their home games, no problem. And then I think they're going to be tough everywhere else they play. I don't think they're falling down the standings very far. I mean, maybe there'll be some calamitous drop, but
it's just weird that we've gone from, are the Nets the scariest team in the East to face in the playoffs, to like, are the Suns the best team in the West?
Yeah,
like in just an instant.
So, do you think the Suns are the best team in the West?
Yes.
Yeah.
As much as I love the Nuggets,
right?
I just, when it comes to a playoff series, I'm more fearful of the Suns roster.
I think
I still just don't think I still have like Matches Malone apprehensions, and I still feel like they're so reliant on one transcendent guy. And that transcendent guy is probably better than Kevin Durant now, even in a playoff setting. Like Jokic has been a true badass in the playoffs.
Yes.
But the Suns, to me, just they have so many guys they can turn to just take over games at pivotal moments that only have one.
I think I would definitely trust the Nuggets over the Suns. I would also, this is just my own personal scars showing. Yeah. I'll take the Warriors over the Suns. Like, I think the Warriors, the Warriors have a thing that I believe not just in like the Steph, Clay, Draymond magic. I believe the Warriors can win multiple ways. I believe they can scratch out those offensive rebounds. I don't see anyone on the Suns who's getting a loose ball. Like that's a lot to ask of Torrey Craig and Josh Okogie. And so, as brilliant as the offensive talents of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are, and none better. I mean, basically those are the two. Now the Suns have the 2 best one-on-one guys in the NBA, I think, as far as the best 1-2 punch that is, I'll take those guys probably getting their own shot over Kyrie and Luka, although it's very, very close. But I still think the Nuggets are better. I think the Warriors might be better. And I'm concerned about the Suns' ability to do like the little things, which is defend and rebound and slow down their opponent at all. But it's going to be certainly very, very interesting. I mean, the migration of stars from the East to West is kind of
not worried about the West. Good with the West.
Yeah, we're fine in the West. It's undone some of the player movement from the past couple of seasons. What's a question you have post trade deadline that you find yourself wondering?
I have so many questions. Here's a question. Yeah. Did you know about the Josh Richardson Devontae Graham deal?
Yeah, I like it. Well, this is similar to something that I keep pitching. I wish the Grizzlies would.
There are trade deadlines where that would have been the biggest deal.
It is. It makes the Pelicans better this season.
Yes,
I like Josh Richardson on the Pelicans. It also signals that the Pelicans are not going to be that good going forward because they are deathly afraid. This is a luxury tax move.
Yeah,
this is a salary dodging move. The acquisition of Devontae Graham was
that's what I wanted to get to.
Lighting multiple picks on fire to get Devontae Graham and then to unload him. So no, it's a bad overall. When you look at the entire context of that move, bad bit of business from the Pelicans. If you look short-sighted just on how good they are on the court this season, I do think they have improved for this season.
I thought that move, strangely, and the Wiseman move were the 2 most flag-planting moves.
Wiseman was one of my questions. What in the world? I mean, I guess is there a downside to this? But The Pistons have announced they're starting James Wiseman over Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren is several years younger than James Wiseman and has proved he can play basketball, which James Wiseman has not. That is a weird one.
Wembanyama.
Do we sell our Marvin Bagley stock too?
It's
What
done
about the
been sold.
Warriors? What about the Warriors who had Wiseman and Gary Payton 2 on their roster last year? Then dump Wiseman, get a bunch of picks, use those picks to send to Portland to bring back Gary Payton 2. So in essence, unless I'm missing something, from last year's squad to this year's squad, they merely just dumped Wiseman for savings.
They're running it back, man.
They are running it back.
After the code breaking, they want to just tie the room back together and run it back. But they want it all. Might as well. More questions.
Yeah.
Cam Reddish once again.
The Blazers getting Cam Reddish and Matisse Thybulle. Why? I mean,
the Blazers traded one of the only players and I know that he cannot shoot anymore for some reason, but trading one of their only players on the roster that I like for a guy that has now done stints in some pretty war-torn countries.
They have that Josh Hart first round pick. It's not a first round pick, right? It's I believe it's the Knicks pick this year,
right?
Which is lottery protected, and so the Knicks I guess the Knicks could miss the playoffs, but
unlikely. I don't think so.
If it doesn't convey this year, it becomes, I believe, 4 second-round picks, adding to the bevy of second-round picks that got moved. That was one of my questions, John. How many second picks are there in existence? How many future second-round picks are there in existence? I came up with my own formula, but I think
they're NFTs, so it just depends on how much they're worth at any given moment. So, kind of like my Top Shot.
Do you
collection.
Have to mine?
Yes.
To create?
You got to grind, and grind.
You got to grit and grind. I mean, I believe you can trade picks all the way out to 2029. So Incredible. That's like 7 years of picks in the future. And so every team has 7 second-round picks, except for the Heats and Knicks and the people who've been punished of the world for tampering. So that's 7 times about 30. That's about 210 picks maybe are in circulation. That's the currency. 210 NFTs, second-round picks are out there. And I believe like 12%
Is this like the
of them
Federal Reserve where they print more second-round picks when?
Doesn't the NFL do that?
Something is.
Doesn't the NFL print up extra draft picks when players and coaches move or something? I don't know much about the NFL.
I feel like the Pacers waived more good players than the Blazers just traded for.
Where's Goga Bitadze going to end up?
Probably should go replace Yusuf Nurkic.
Can he pay? Yeah. Can he pay? Who did he punch? Was it like Bogdan? Who did he assault at the Euro basket?
Was it Fournier? I
don't even remember.
Who did they hit? Who was the back, like the tunnel?
Was it Furkan Korkmaz? Who? Another question.
It was Furkan Korkmaz.
Another question.
Furkan Korkmaz is the star of the trade deadline.
What is Furkan Korkmaz doing right now? That's one of my big questions post trade deadline.
Have you ever broken up with a girl and they are told a girl you're breaking up with them and they're just like, good?
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
I think that's what happened to Furkan Korkmaz.
Yeah. I'm trying to click on this. Yeah, it was. I was making sure it was in fact Furkan Korkmaz. Yeah, just double checking.
Here I have a question.
Yeah, what's your question?
Everyone is in unanimity about the Lakers roster now.
Yes.
Can you explain it to me in terms that a person who thinks D'Angelo Russell is every bit as poor as Russell Westbrook can understand?
Okay. I think if you consider, all right, if we're using your parameters, considering Russell Westbrook and D'Angelo Russell to be equal basketball players.
Right.
You also picked up useful basketball players in Malik Beasley, who immediately is the best shooter on the entire team. High volume, 3-point shooter, fairly accurate. Also, I believe the first Malik Beasley signed with Clutch. He doesn't want to play anywhere but Los Angeles. I believe I first read that 3 years ago.
Good grief.
It's one of the Denver Nuggets people, probably Adam Mares, was like, yeah, he's just going to go to the Lakers. So no one should ever trade for him because he's going to do whatever he can to get to the Lakers. But the Lakers get Malik Beasley. They also get Jared Vanderbilt, who sorely, I think, provides some energy, athleticism for that team. So I think if you just add Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, you're better. I disagree with you that the Russell Westbrook and D'Angelo Russell are equal players for this Lakers squad. I think just Russell being able to shoot is huge, massive. The Lakers picked up D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley, guys who can shoot the basketball. That's great. Just getting the ball out of Russell Westbrook's hands might be beneficial. That I don't know because I refuse to watch Lakers games. So I'd have to rely on a Lakers expert to give me some analysis on that. But
the Lakers expert might tell you that Russell Westbrook should be Sixth Man of the Year this year. So
how does this trade deadline affect Russell Westbrook's leading odds to be Sixth Man of the Year?
I think they're
bought
toast.
Out. How high is he going to finish? He's still going to finish high. The voters are going to look at his stats for the year and be like, oh man, I guess I'll put him second.
Right.
I don't understand. Here's a question. I don't understand how the Lakers did all of that with just one pick.
So is that what everyone's so impressed with? Because I must be it, because I just really don't like. I like Jared Vanderbilt, but to me he's like a hustle player.
He's a hustle player. They need a hustle player.
Like Thomas. They got rid of Thomas Bryant.
So trade demand, baby.
So I feel like some of the bloom was off the rose, and then like Malik Beasley.
They got Mo Bamba too, which I found very, very surprising. I mean, that was a lot of teams did some good asset management. Guys they just signed last year. I'm saying Orlando just signed Mo Bamba and then didn't know what to do with him, signed him, and then got a few second-round picks for him. Good job.
Like when I look at that big trade, like why didn't the Lakers end up with Conley? Like
that's a fair question.
That's what like that. Everything everyone's like, yeah, look at what the Lakers did. I'm like, the Lakers should have Conley. Like that's who they should get.
I think Conley's a better fit, but maybe the Timberwolves wouldn't. Okay, like do the Timberwolves need to be in that deal? Like it seems like the Jazz
like the
and
Lakers
Lakers could have made it happen.
Like there's two players that I feel like were jettisoned in a weird way, and it was D'Lo and Bones out of Denver. Which, if you watch Denver, you that was coming.
This is what I said about the Bones Highland thing. I watched Denver games, and I'm like, give me Ish Smith. I think I want Ish Smith minutes here.
Bones kind of sucks, and then does not get along with his teammates. So I think he was basically jettisoned. You know, they basically got the least they could have. I feel like if they had traded Bones 2 months ago, it would have been they could have gotten something.
Oh, yeah, that might be true. No, I'm looking at I am impressed at the Lakers. I mean, I'm impressed just the sheer volume of things they do. They have done so many transactions. It's incrable. The number of transactions. They're the
straw that stirs the drink.
It's just the NBA news transaction.
Yeah.
They're
the most beautiful woman at the party.
I think the Lakers, with what they have now, are far more formidable than they were a week ago. So I do like the fact that they turned Russell Westbrook into useful players. You can never have too many useful players, I don't think. Another big question I have. How did the Clippers turn Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, and John Wall into Eric Gordon and Mason Plumlee and Bones Highland? And basically, they were second-round pick neutral in those transactions. The Grizzlies gave 3 second-round picks for Kennard. Why are we giving 3 second-round picks in a deal where they ended up with Eric Gordon? Seems like this benefited them. I know they gave the Clippers a pick swap. That's going to be a pick swap with the Bucks. Maybe there's a little bit of risk there. You can see the Bucks finishing with a way better record than the Clippers next season, but it doesn't seem like the Clippers sent out enough to bring in Eric Gordon and Mason Plumlee, guys who they think are going to help them with getting rid of players they didn't want to play.
Right. I'm still in my bums for bums mode, shuffling deck chairs.
Okay.
Like that's, I know that I'm supposed to care about Plumlee and Eric Gordon, and that's going to move the needle, but it just does not move the needle for me. I don't think Plumlee can guard Jokic, and I don't think, I think Eric Gordon is really old and bad. Like I know he gets to the rim like every we're going to see that rejuvenated thing where he like gets to the rim a few times a game, but I don't think his switchability is that important to like once we get into the playoffs. I hope that Eric Gordon's switchability isn't what we're talking about, and I, in fact, no, it won't be. So
who dribbles? Who brings the ball up for the Clippers now? Is
Paul
it just
George.
It's all Terrence Mann and Paul George? I mean, I know Terrence Mann is the untouchable point guard for them, but them at least getting rid of Reggie Jackson and John Wall, the two clear, true point guards on the roster. Not that they were that helpful. Reggie Jackson having a terrible year, but
is John Wall returning to Houston with like a can full of gas and a handful of matches?
I don't know.
What's happening there. It's like a cruel cosmic joke.
Here's another question. So Danny Green got traded to the Rockets in this deal. They haven't said whether or not they're going to buy him out, but you would assume they're going to buy out Danny Green.
Can he just come back to Memphis, please?
No, he can't. Not allowed. But he can. Here's where he can go back to, John. He can go back to the Sixers.
Yeah.
How would it make you feel if Danny Green just went back to the Sixers? I'm going to mine deep all these feelings.
Man, it really feels like we are just getting almost manipulated at this point.
As a Grizzlies fan, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty miserable for me.
I mean, if the Sixers ended up trading the 22nd pick for Melton just flat out and got Danny Green back, it's kind of like the Sixers have a roster spot. The Sixers didn't do much at the trade deadline. They got the McDaniels brother who had some objectionable legal stuff, and they dodged the luxury tax. But they do probably need a backup center, maybe a Boban reunion with Toby, a Toby reunion. Boban got bought out. It seems like they could add a Danny Green if he were available on the buyout market. Also, like, what if the Suns got Danny Green and Danny Green is useful in the playoffs? Wouldn't that affect how you feel about the Grizzlies trading Danny Green for Luke Kennard? Because it would for me. Where I'm like, oh, we helped one of the top Western Conference teams.
I mean, that's why I find this all upsetting. Is I just feel like Danny Green, even if you take the years where he was on the Lakers and bad,
yeah,
it feels like he was useful after that for good teams.
He's useful.
Yeah, it feels like he's just a type of player that you want on your team, particularly a team that's like struggling with identity and discipline issues. If you can have a guy like, I don't know if Danny Green's the type of person to say anything, but if you have a guy in your locker room who's won multiple rings and has, playoff records under his belt, that seems like a good guy to have. Certainly over Luke Kennard.
Here's another big question I have. Why are Alec Burks, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Nerlens Noel still on the Pistons?
I'm just glad that they're not on the Grizzlies. Okay.
Oh, you don't even Luke Kennard or Alec Burks? I prefer Alec Burks.
I guess.
I hadn't even thought about this until right now.
I guess. I'd rather take Alec Burks, but
that's where I'm at.
I've watched. Alec Burks will shoot you out of a game.
But you bench him.
That is a conscious. We don't bench insane people. Why?
Ever. And also, so the Pistons again traded for. They traded Sadiq Bey for what, 5. I believe this is one of the 5 second rounders. Can we call this a 5-second violation?
Can you explain the Jakob Poeltl sweepstakes to me?
That's a great question. The Raptors, who are under 500. Did not trade anyone. Except for, what was it?
Did they know all the good players were going to leave the West?
Did Delano Banton go out? Who was the, Kim Birch.
Banton didn't go.
They didn't even close.
They said no on Banton.
They said no on Banton.
That's who the Spurs wanted, and they said no.
The Raptors did not sell at the trade deadline. They held on to OG Anunoby. They held on to Fred VanVleet, free agent to be. They held on to Gary Trent Jr., free agent to be. They held on to Pascal Siakam. Listen, I understand hanging on to your guys, specifically guys under contract who are awesome, like OG and Pascal. But then they went and got their center, part of one of the big themes beyond the give me 5 seconds. Do you mean time or actual draft picks? Beyond that being the theme of the trade deadline, it was the reunions. It was the getting back together. It was Eric Gordon going back to the Clippers, D'Angelo Russell going back to the Lakers, Jakob Poeltl going back to the Raptors. They traded a lightly protected first rounder next season, a 2024 top 6 protected pick, 2 second rounders to get their center, a center who cannot shoot.
Kim Birch. For
a team that does not shoot very well. How does this affect our precious Achua fantasy stock? Some kind of bad. He's more. I know he's more on a wing, but all those lineups. Once OG comes back, you assume Project 6ix9ine is Project 6ix9ine over.
Although Jakob Poeltl's a thing.
It is.
He might get those crucial late game minutes due to it. I just didn't.
Jakob, I believe.
Yeah. I just didn't. Yeah, a Jakob. I just didn't know that this could be a thing. Like I didn't realize that this could be one of the ways to spend first round draft capital.
Well, also it's just one of those things where they drafted the guy and they're just enamored. And maybe they're like, we can unlock even more. We had this guy so high. And that goes back to the Pistons thing with James Wiseman. Amari Sankofa, who beat writer for the Pistons, is like Troy Weaver had James Wiseman at the top of his draft board in 2020. Why would you say that? Why would you tell people that? You gotta burn those notes, man. You can't be telling people that. You can't say that.
I guess this is like kind of similar to the Gary Payton maneuver. Like it's just like, let's get the band back together.
Yeah. I mean, I understand when you draft a guy on draft night being like, I can't believe whoever it was. I can't believe Tyrese Halliburton fell all the way here. We had him number 1 on our draft board, or even someone bad. Whoever you draft at, like, I can't believe Mason Plumlee fell to us. We had him number 1 on our draft board. On draft night, I get it. Years later, when we've seen LaMelo Ball and Franz Wagner play, and we've seen James Wiseman play, to be like, guys, get excited. This is who I thought was number 1. It's like, dude, I would not be telling people that.
What is your favorite sneaky small move that you think we will mention in the playoffs? I have a good one.
I'm actually stumped by this. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. What's yours? I'm blanking.
Mike Muscala to the Celtics.
See, if you would have said, what am I going to say is the sneaky move that's going to affect one playoff game, I would have said what you're talking about. You're talking about
Muskie Mike the Celtics. When he has 17 points in a closing game.
The Kelly Olynyk Memorial Game 6 or 7 or whatever it was.
When we're talking about the screens he sets in his pick and roll game with Derek White,
his on-off numbers on the Thunder are incredible.
Dude, Muskie Mike been PNR God for years.
He's been great
on the Hawks.
That was a low key Presti tanking move. It's like, the Muscala minutes are too good. I actually don't want to make the play in. It's time. As my buddy Andrew Schleck says, we got to pull a lever. Pick up a couple more losses. I just noticed this. Otto Porter.
End of season.
I knew he was out for the season, but the Raptors getting a disabled player exception, financial grievance awarded.
I feel like if Riley wasn't asleep, he could do that with Lowry this year. This guy is dead.
Buyout market usually doesn't matter.
So yeah, this is where I could use some help.
Will Barton is maybe going to be bought out. Will Barton, if I'm not mistaken, started every game for a Nuggets team that was good last year. Like, I know we give the credit to Jokic and not Barton, but Will Barton seems like he's a useful NBA player.
Couldn't the Nuggets just get him back? Couldn't that be get the band back together? He could be the Bones replacement.
I think he has to be, as the phrase goes, touched by another team.
Okay.
Because I believe they traded him.
Same thing with the.
It's been 12. It hasn't been 12 months. He can't come back if he gets waived. It seems like Will Barton could help somebody. Just again, I feel like for buyouts, I don't know the Suns' exact situation with their roster.
Will Barton seems better than Malik Beasley to me, but
that's just false. I think.
Okay.
I think just the pure shooting. I love Will Barton's game because he is a guy who he's just, for lack of a better phrase, he can just play. Like he
Right.
Not a smooth shooter, but like he's a scorer. He can score. He can defend a little bit. He's got good size. I guess it's kind of weird that the Wizards don't play him. I mean, they don't have playing time available they didn't have it for Rui Hachimura. They don't have it for Johnny Davis. So I guess it makes sense that Will Barton is not in the rotation at all, but seems like he could help.
Wizards break the simulation.
Can Reggie Jackson help anybody?
No.
Is he so bad that he can't help? I just feel like he's been a little banged up. I don't feel like he could have fallen off this big of a cliff. So quickly.
I think you're just being nice to that one guy you had on here who loves Reggie
James
Jackson.
Herbert.
So I mean that.
Yeah, maybe so.
Reggie Jackson gets so much equity out of a few playoff games where he went off.
We can wrap up with this. What are your thoughts on just this shakeup in the West? You already said you think the Suns are the best team. We haven't talked about Kyrie going to,
I think it's awesome for Dallas.
The Mavericks. Yeah.
I think just having a number 2 for Dallas will be enormous. And I know everyone likes to dunk on Kyrie, but he's, unbelievable. They have 2 guys who could score at will now.
Yeah.
And Kyrie, quietly having one of his best years.
On the court.
Yeah, on the court. Yeah. Prefatory remarks. Yeah.
So in the East, there's a clear Celtics and Bucks, right? And I don't know. I don't think we put the Sixers in that category. The Bucks have not lost since Chris Middleton has returned again. I believe 9 straight now for Milwaukee. Celtics and Bucks. Milwaukee, of course, picks up Jay Crowder.
Jake Crowder.
5 seconds.
I think I would stick the Sixers in there.
Okay, so Celtics, Bucks, and Sixers.
And then I think there's like a gulf. You can even say there's a gulf between Sixers, Bucks, Philly, and then Philly like gets their own tier.
Yeah. Well, I think Celtics, Bucks. For me, those are the 2, and then there's a tier of just the Sixers.
How about the Cavs doing nothing?
I mean, they traded for Donovan Mitchell. What are they supposed to do? How about the Bulls doing nothing?
Are those only 2 teams that did nothing?
How about I think so. How about the Bulls just being like, this is our team?
Weird.
I mean, I guess there weren't
kudos to the Bulls for rolling over to the Grizzlies, allowing us to make no moves, by the way. Giving us a glimmer of hope that the old Grizz are back.
let's do some hierarchy of the West and how you think they compare to the Celtics or Bucks. Is anyone as good? Are the Suns as good as the Celtics and Bucks in your mind?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go with
and the Nuggets.
I'm gonna go with the hard no.
Okay, I think the top of the West is as good as the top of the East, and would not be surprised if they beat them in the finals.
So Suns and Nuggets are the best 2. Who is your third? Are you gonna? Where did the Grizzlies,
I'm a Mavs person.
Warriors, and Mavs show up for you? All right,
I'm a Mavs person. Yes.
Before here's a question.
Now I'll have the
one week ago. What was your Western Conference hierarchy? Did you think, despite losing a bunch of games in a row, that the Grizzlies were still near the top of the West a week ago before all the trades happened?
I probably was. I still have Grizzlies and Warriors basically in the same tier for me.
Yeah.
I'm just not as high on them as people who watch a lot more basketball than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like there's basically you jump the Warriors up, you ignore all the stuff that's keeping them low in the standings, and then you have 6 teams in the West, and I guess I probably have, or not 6 because I'm not in on Kings still. So 5 teams in the West, and if you wanted to call me a homer and exclude Memphis, I would accept it.
Gotcha.
And I do think Phoenix and Denver are I think there's a Phoenix and Denver tier, then I think there's a Dallas Clippers tier, and then I think there's a Memphis Warriors tier. And that's kind of where I am.
Interesting. I think I would do it. Nuggets still 1. I got Warriors 2. And that's, again, giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt. And
I think I got funny Suns, to talk to Warriors 3 fans who are as despondent as Grizzlies fans.
How would you not be despondent? If you're a fan of that team, it's hard to console yourself. I mean, I guess you can console yourself with all the rings, but still watching this team and how much they keep losing, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe we're not any good. I have the Grizzlies and Mavericks pretty close. I think the Grizzlies are better than Mavericks. I think in a
playoff series, the Mavericks would beat us in like 5 games. That's why
I worry that Luka is so good at slowing the game down and getting into a half court battle. And if you're just trading half court offense, the Mavericks would beat down the Grizzlies.
I basically think, the Grizzlies are a solved team in this era as far as playoff basketball, and that I think we're going to have to change our identity and our roster before we are good in the playoffs. I was surprised at how well we did last year, and I would be pleased to do as that well again this year. But Well,
one of these teams is losing in the first round, quite obviously. And we haven't even mentioned like the Clippers or the Pelicans, but it's tough. I mean, I think if you're playing the Grizzlies, you pack the paint and then you run back on defense. You don't offer support. You get back on it, make sure don't turn the ball over, which everybody says, but really don't turn the ball over.
This could all change,
run back on defense.
If like the coaching philosophy, changed suddenly and we just played our best players, I would feel differently, but that's not what we do.
I mean, my big fear, to go hyper Grizzlies focused, is that it's going to be all small ball, and maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll be like 7 seconds or less. Like the idea of Jaren is the only 5, or Jaren and Steven Adams is a 4-5 with like Bane, Kennard, Morant. That might be perfect. It might be amazing because Jaren is that spectacular and that uniquely gifted as a defender more than anyone else in the NBA right now. And if Steven Adams is just rebounding everything, that formula might work. I'm worried it's not going to work.
I do feel like Steve-O has unlocked something mentally in his game to where he doesn't have to be benched in the playoffs this year. Am I insane?
I don't think he needed to be benched last year, but I do think the Grizzlies pick and roll coverage, the drop coverage, the way that he plays higher, I think that is addressed. I'm just worried they're gonna roll so much small ball, and I've never.
It hasn't worked.
I'm worried we're gonna get torched a la when we had Grayson Allen. Like Luke Kennard's not in the rotation.
Yeah,
for a Clippers team that's not very good.
You can make an argument that Grayson Allen's better than Luke Kennard, so let's not. We can't do this. We can't pin our hopes and dreams to Luke Kennard. Like, that can't be something we do.
My hopes and dreams are the Grizzlies play their current starting lineup plus Brandon Clark. The end. Like that. Those are my hopes and dreams. They're not really pinned on
like
on this
every
trade.
good playoffs like dream scenario is a dream. Like it's like a best case thing. Like it just doesn't. It is not. They're not a team that's aligned to have playoff success right now. I just don't see it. I wish I did.
I think they definitely could have that playoff success.
So what would we need to play? Like we'd have to face like New
Orleans,
they
match up fine. I think they match up fine against the Suns, Clippers.
Okay. I don't like the Clippers.
Not terribly against the Nuggets even. Honestly, the Mavericks.
I agree that the Nuggets matchup is better than people would think. It
scares me. Yeah, I think the Nuggets matchup is fine for the Grizzlies. I think you have definitely awoken my fears that I've always had of the Mavericks in the specific matchup with the Grizzlies. Them now having Kyrie too just does yet feel like death. Anyway, let's wrap up. You want to do it? No, you're fine. A kudos. Do you have a kudos to me or a par fadeaway that you want to close that show? Close the show with.
Kudos to me. I don't think I got anything right about the trade deadline. I think I was going to try to say that there wouldn't be that much action. I think we just sussed out that every team except for 2 made a trade. So there will be no kudos to me. I guess you will get a technical kudos to you because the Grizzlies didn't do anything big.
Oh, kudos to me.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I cannot do a kudos to me. My official bet was nothing. My official bet they would do nothing. By doing something, no kudos to me. How about kudos to
I did say I have a kudos to me. Yeah. I have been saying that Bones Highland was going to be kicked off the Nuggets. And he was.
Kudos to me. Good job, John. I guess I'll do a par fadeaway because we haven't mentioned them very much other than passing.
I mean,
I'm
there's
so
certainly par fadeaways at hand.
I'm so interested in the Timberwolves, in the fit of Mike Conley. My fear is Mike Conley drops another 2 for 13 elimination game in the playoffs, which would
as long as that doesn't happen, I think it's all gravy.
I love Kyle Anderson and Mike Conley reunion. The Timberwolves, who I just said, you just got to get out of Ant's way. Just put ball players around Ant. And I think swapping out D'Lo for Mike Conley does that. Also, there's the potential reunion of Patrick Beverley.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I think they said no, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think Dane Moore was saying that Patrick Beverley can go back. Because it was
didn't the team say they had no interest?
Well, I thought Dane Moore was saying they did have interest. So maybe I'm wrong there. But it's I find the Timberwolves very, very interesting. And of course, Karl Anthony Towns is coming back.
Yeah.
He's got to help them, right? He can't actually be the hipster podcast take that this best shooting big man of all time somehow harms the chemistry and harms the team.
I think getting rid of D'Angelo Russell is huge.
Yeah.
And that's why I just can't wrap my head around Lakers stuff. They added like 2 bad guys.
Well, I mean, and the Lakers, of course, lost that big game before the deadline to the Thunder. The LeBron. By the way, should we mention that LeBron set the scoring record? No, we should not. That's not our podcast.
I do think there's something to the rumor that Thomas Bryant was traded for calling for the ball when LeBron had
iconic all-time photo. And you can tell your kid in the future, see that guy right there? Traded 24 hours later. So they got him out of there. Anyways,
par fadeaway, Grizzlies get to play at 2:00 on a Sunday. Always fun against the Celtics.
Oh, par fadeaway. The Grizzlies are playing the Celtics on Super Bowl Sunday. That has never happened before.
What a sporting day we have at hand.
What a sporting day. By the way, if you're a Grizzlies fan and you want playoff tickets, well, buddy, you better have bought those season tickets. You can call right now, see if they have any more. Get the best seats at the lowest prices and guarantee your playoff priority by calling 901-888-HOOP or clicking grizzlies.com. If you want to support our show, do that at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Thanks to everybody who came to the playback watch party. We'll probably have a watch party again. I don't know, but we'll definitely have one next week. Those are going very, very well and are a lot of fun. Also, if you join our Patreon, you can join our Slack channel, talk about whatever you want around the clock. Patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.